Pharisees. Over the next several weeks, we'll be examining the words of sharp rebuke that Jesus speaks against the Pharisees in the remainder of chapter 11 and just a little bit into chapter 12. And from those conversations, we aim to identify and discuss at least 7 destructive desires of the human heart. Desires that we need to put off, right? Remember Ephesians 4, you were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires. So putting off the old self means putting off desires, and then to be made new, to put on the new self, created to be like Christ. So putting off some bad desires and putting on the opposite counterparts, 7 godly counterparts, 7 bad desires, 7 godly counterparts. That's what we'll be looking at over the next several weeks. Things God would have put in the place of those evil desires, both for our good and for his glory. So in this fallen world, there are all sorts of evil desires that can captivate and corrupt the soul. And the evil desire most specifically addressed by Jesus in today's passage is this. Destructive desire number 1, the desire for the image of righteousness. The desire of the image of righteousness. Right? And this pertains both to people of faith and people not of faith. The world has its own version of righteousness, right? Everyone has a code of ethics. Even people who think they evolved from amoebas and would have no reason to believe there's any code of ethics have a code of ethics, things that they think are true, false, things that they think are right and wrong. We all do. We want to project that image to look good to those around us. So the first destructive desire is the image of righteousness. Now, having said that, it can be fine and good to want to win the respect of other people. In fact, we're commanded to do that, right? To live quiet lives, to win the respect of those around us. But that desire is good provided that at the same time we are first and foremost seeking to bring glory to God. However, the yearning merely to appear righteous is a deceitful desire. It is a dangerous snare. Paul makes this point in Galatians chapter 1, verse 10, where he says this, "Am I now trying to win the approval of men or of God? Or am I trying to please men? If I were trying to please men, guess what I would not be? I would not be a servant of Christ." We serve the one we're trying to please. Trying to please someone is an act of service. If I'm trying to please people, it's not God that I'm serving, but people. One of the chief problems we see among the Pharisees was this unholy passion that they had developed to portray and project from themselves an image of perfect righteousness. Oh, how pristine I am. How you should all applaud me for my wonderful righteousness. This was the goal of their lives. The exposure of this unholy desire among the Pharisees begins in today's text with an insincere welcome offered to Jesus by an unnamed Pharisee. Verse 37 says this, if you look there. It says, "When Jesus had finished speaking, a Pharisee invited him to him, so he went in and reclined at the table." Now we quickly discover that this Pharisee didn't really invite Jesus over to his home to learn about Jesus or to learn from Jesus, but instead, as was the pattern of the Pharisees, they invited him in order to observe him and to judge him. Will he do all the right things in the right way, just as we prescribe? Let's check it out and see. Excellent Smithers, right? This underhand intention becomes clear in verse 38, which says this, "But the Pharisee, noticing that Jesus did not first wash before the meal